All right, we're back. We got a hot group for you. We've got the bass player, GregChaisson, and we have the guitarist, RyanMcKay, Atomic Kings, in the house.
Hey, thank you.
Hello.
Great,
Howdy,
great to
howdy.
see you guys. I see you're in the heart of guitar land over there. We love it. Why don't you guys jump in? Tell us about the origin of the band. I mean, we know Greg from the past, but how'd this whole thing come together, and what are you guys all about?
We are we are born out of the remnants of another band, and this band we made some changes and changed the name to Atomic Kings, and it was me, Ryan here, and Jimmy Taft, our drummer, and we got this groovy new singer at the time over a year ago named Ken Ronk, and we're kind of like everything you like from the 70s. Hard rock. Yeah, let me rephrase that.
Yeah, not disco.
There's no disco.
Yeah, all that tasty stuff, you know. The 70s was the era, you know. I always say everything since then is taking a big slab of that and adding something new to it. But you know, the prototypes of pretty much every major arena and stadium band is from the 70s sound.
Well, if you like Deep Purple and Zeppelin and Sabbath and Grand Funk and Humble Pie and Mountain and Mott the Hoople and Trapeze and
Left End,
Left End and Bowie and even more obscure bands, we bring all those influences to the fore, and we don't try to hide from them. We're not, you know, I'm not doing what some of the younger bands do. Zeppelin, I've never heard of them. I mean, so we are. You know, we are proud of our influences. That's when our careers kind of began, especially me. And Ryan's is quite a bit younger than me, but
by a lot.
Yeah, shut up. And he grew up, you know, as a child of the 70s music as well.
Yeah.
So
I actually grew up when I was in middle school. It was hair band time, but I was going back and listening to Zeppelin and you know, stuff like what he just mentioned, Aerosmith and all that kind of cool 70s stuff. I always dug that more than what was current in my, you know, 14-year-old brain.
Yeah, I mean, you go to those arena shows by those acts today, and you see at least 3 generations.
Easily.
Much younger than you that got turned on to the music from their, you know, their parents or uncles or friends or whatever, and then there's you know, people a little older than them, and then there's people in real time, you know, like me and Greg, who saw those bands when they first came around. You know, people sometimes ask me, hey, you gonna go see, you know, fill in the blank legendary band? I'm like, I saw them when they were in their prime and like right up front. So no, I'm not gonna pay $2,500 a ticket to sit in the back with one original member. You know, let me keep my memory pure. Because there's no question seeing a band in their prime is what it's all about. You know, hats off to them. I mean, a lot of these bands go out. Guns N' Roses probably playing a bunch of people that never saw the band originally. So hats off to them. You know,
and Guns N' Roses would be my band that I saw front row in their prime in 1988. So same. I get what you're saying. Like it was a great memory, and I don't want to see them now. It wouldn't be the same. But I get that people want to go because they never had a chance to see them, especially kids, you know.
Well, yeah, there's such an interest in the 70s and the 80s, you know, era. You know, Greg, what was it about Ryan's guitar that spoke to you, that said, I think this guy can help me pull off what I'm hearing in my head?
He had a big fat wallet full of cash and said, come on, man, I'll pay to be in the band with you. And at the time I needed the money, and I said, well, okay, never mind. No, I mean, the funny thing is, when I kind of started this band out of the ashes of another one, I was looking for a certain kind of guitar player. The guitar player had previously, you know, after Jake, a local guitarist that I had here, named Mike Petruno. He has the same kind of influence as I do. And so when that band went by the wayside, I decided I wanted to keep it going and just start something new. And I had actually seen Ryan play a couple times before I'd ever really met him. He was playing with some guys I knew. I'd seen him playing in a bar, He's a really good singer, and he really had kind of this 70s sensibility about him. And the rumor was that he was like this really nice guy too, so that I needed something to offset my, prickness. And so
Isn't it a horse race?
so
Preakness.
Preakness.
Yeah.
So I called up a friend of mine named Steve Conley, who plays in Flotsam and Jetsam, and I said, "What was the name of that blonde guy that moved here from Illinois or Michigan or something, and he was playing with Scott Hamm?" He goes, "Oh, RyanMcKay." I said, "Do you have his number?" And he said, "Yeah." And so I called Ryan up, and I explained what I was doing. I had a bunch of tunes already written, and Ryan came down, and we just kind of jammed with me and Jimmy and him, and he fit right in. I mean, his playing was very very reminiscent of the 70s. He has great feel. He's a great rhythm player, and he also understands spacing. Like a bass player like me, I'm pretty busy, and he kind of knows when to lay back, when to fill in, when to leave the space, that kind of thing. And that's very important for if you're going to play with a guy that plays like me. So it was just the perfect. After I saw him play, there was no hesitation. He was the right guy for the gig, and we've been doing this now for 3 years or so together.
We all had the same influences too, like all the bands we mentioned at the top of the show. We could talk about albums, and he could say things to me like, this, I'm thinking more like Dark Lady on this one. And he didn't have to elaborate, because I have a copy of Scorpions in Trance, and Dark Lady is a song on that, and I love that record. So he just has to say, these fairly obscure. I mean, everybody knows the Scorpions, but like he could go deeper and go like that, that Trapeze song or this song or that, or Captain Beyond, or we can communicate so effortlessly because of our record collections are very similar.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, like I say, the great bands, unfortunately, many of them are on their last tours, or they're already gone, or a key member or more have passed. And like I say, we're kind of seeing a shadow of them, their former self. But to take that energy and write new songs and keep it growing, I feel there's a groundswell of interest, classic rock lovers that want to hear new music that fits their ears. It's like, okay, I can dig that. It's not like something so new. They're like, no, I grew up on the bands we're talking about, and I can't relate to that sound. So I feel a groundswell. Obviously there's bands, Rival Sons out of LA, and a bunch of
I like
cool
Rival
bands.
Sons.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that was important to me is Ryan and I started writing together, and that worked perfect. It was like we were right in lockstep. He would bring in some song ideas, and then I would contribute to him, and it would work perfect, and vice versa. I'd bring in song ideas. I'd say, "What can you do with this?" And then he would do it. And like he said, I could say something. I'm hearing kind of Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs in here. I'm hearing Humble Pie, blah, blah, blah. He knew exactly what I was talking about. So the fact that his playing was perfect, he's an excellent singer. He's also an excellent songwriter.
Yeah. Well, that's what it comes down to. You got to be good players. That's without question. But it comes down to songs, giving people some songs that they can really be impacted by, something that they want to hum along with, or sing, or feel like it speaks to them, whether it be musically or lyrically, something they can sink their teeth into, where they may fall in love with the band from a song, but now you give them a couple songs, 2-3 songs they love. Now they're in love with the band, and that's the goal. We've seen so many bands, they had the one song and didn't connect, and so you can never put enough emphasis on the songwriting.
I'm used to playing with really good musicians, and
So this is a real stretch.
This is something different. No, I'm used to playing with really great musicians, and I didn't want to change that just because I moved back to Phoenix. And having Ryan, and then our drummer Jimmy Taft is just an excellent drummer,
killer drummer,
really different than a lot of guys that you would see. His influences are you know, quite different than your typical Tommy Aldridge, Bonham, Tommy Lee guy, which there's nothing wrong with that. But he's just comes from a kind of a different Simon Phillips, Jeff Porcaro, uh, Ainsley Dunbar, those kind of guys that they have a wide influence base. And then our singer, Ken Ronk, he's, you know, not only is he a great singer, lyricist, frontman, whatever, he's just the nicest guy. And he really kind of has this Paul Rogers vibe to him, which totally fits in with what we write. And, you know, we're not trying to be a heavy metal band. We're trying to be a little bit of everything. We're kind of like, if you just took it all and threw it into a blender, out we would come. And it's what Ken contributes, what they all contribute to it, just makes it that much more special.
Yeah, well, what we called 30, 40 years ago heavy metal is like a screaming, you know, cacophony of noise in the main. But the hard rock is a better term, because all that music that you mentioned doesn't really fit the term of metal these days. You know, it's really that tasty stuff. Like you say, I just interviewed Carmine Appice an hour ago. I mean, he's been in Cactus and Vanilla Fudge and brought Zeppelin up. Got Bonham his first endorsement deal with Ludwig. I mean, played with Nugent, played with Rod Stewart, played with everybody. It's that feel, you know. It's coming from
Carmine is the man.
What people want to hear.
He's a great drummer. I actually played with Carmine. Him and his brother Vinny do the Drum Wars, or I don't know if they still do it, but
they do.
I was tapped to do one of those gigs with him. It was super fun, and those guys are like heroes. So it was a real thrill for me to get on stage and actually play with them, you know, and jam. And I just thought Carmine had the best feel. I just loved it. Yeah, it was really super fun.
I auditioned for King Cobra, and it was just me and Carmine. And he, I was auditioning, he said, you know, you kind of play like Tim Bogert. I said, he's one of my main influences. So Carmine and I ended up just playing Cactus songs for like an hour. We didn't even bother anything else. And at the time, everyone had to have blonde hair, and I would look terrible with blonde hair. So, and he agreed with me. So I didn't even bother pursuing it. But Carmine and I have been friends ever since then. So great drummer, great guy. Vinny's a great guy as well.
Yeah, Vinny's super cool. Yeah. And I grew up on those Dio records when I was a kid. I love those Dio records. So I mean, when Vinny's known for doing those giant fills, and growing up on the Sabbath stuff that he did on Mob Rules and then the Dio records, I knew exactly where those fills were going to go. So it was super fun to play with him.
And see, I was really influenced by Cactus. So, you know, and Carmine, Vinny had a band called Axis that he played. They made one record, and that was a really good record. So they're both just great drummers. So.
Oh yeah, and of course he played in Derringer with Rick Derringer and Kenny Aronoff. It was they both got pedigrees, but Carmine's been doing this since the early 60s, man. It's hard to believe. But
Carmine's the man.
Yeah. And you know, the music moves forward. So as far as recordings go, how many songs have you laid down in what you would call, you know, professional level?
All the rhythm tracks and everything's done. Ken's working on vocals now. It's
10 tracks at the moment.
Yeah, we got 10 songs, and then so Ken's probably got about 6 or 7 of them done, and now we're going to finish those out. We've been going up to Vegas to do everything's been recorded in Vegas, but the problem is Ken's going up by himself, and so we're not there to kind of, you know, see what's going on. So it's been back and forth, sending tapes back and forth. And I got a small little studio in my house that I got a vocal booth. So we're going to move Ken down here and knock it out in the next month or so, and then begin mixing. So, and that way we can all do our background vocals and if we decide to throw a cowbell on something, or, you know, tambourines or whatever, we can get it all knocked out.
Some keyboards and that kind of stuff.
I mean, traveling back and forth to Vegas was taking too long.
The label we signed with, which is Tone House Records, they're a small label out of Vegas, and the guy has connections to some big studios up there. So we did all the basic tracks there, and then we were recording vocals at his house. But like he said, without me or Ryan being there to kind of make sure everything's going in the right direction, Ken would come back and say, I did this. Do you like it? Oh, I like that, but I don't like this. It just was going to be easier if he came back, if we just had the file sent here and we could just we can finish vocals in 3 weeks as opposed to him going up and doing one song every week. It's just taking too long.
Yeah, the scheduling was a nightmare. So yeah, it makes more
Yeah,
sense.
and they need to build a freaking super highway between Vegas and Phoenix, because I've
Yeah,
done
right.
that drive and it sucks.
Yeah, when you
It's not like
drive
going
on
from
it.
LA to the Bay, you know?
Right. Yeah, you see the
LA to
future
Vegas.
home. Yeah, the future home of that freeway that'll never get built.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's insane. I'm like, Phoenix and Vegas aren't that far away, but there's no really good fast freeway without a bunch of bullshit. So
Well, we were looking at a release date for around now, but because we did basic tracks probably in June. And so, is that about right?
Gosh, I think that is correct. That seems.
And
forever
so
ago.
we thought, we'd be done quicker, but none of us are full-time musicians. We all have day gigs. Ken has a swimming pool business. Jimmy has a business. Ryan and I work here in Bizarre Guitar. And so it was just taking too long for Ken to take time off of his work to go up there. So now we're probably looking at an early spring release date, like maybe as early as February, probably around March, which is longer than we want. But for me, and probably for all four of us, we want it done right. I mean, I don't want to rush it out there. I want to get it done exactly right. I've done some pretty good records, and I want to be able to compare with previous works that I've done. Same with Ryan. So
yeah, I mean, once it's out, it's out. You can't bring it back. So
Yeah.
plus putting it out at the beginning of the year, you got a wide open
exactly.
year in front of you, as opposed to coming out now and then you're reminding people in January and they're like, oh no, that was last year.
Last year's record, yeah.
Yeah. It's
it won't be out this year. I guarantee you that. We even if it was ready to go out this year, we'd still move it into next year. You're competing with too many records or too many things, downloads, whatever, that are coming out right before Christmas.
well, what's the social media? What can we tell people to go to keep up and on the news when this is happening, or when you got a show, stuff like that?
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram, Atomic Kings Band, and then on Facebook, same. You can check out all kinds of videos of recent performances we've done. We played one of the venues here, opening for Ace Frehley over the summer, and we did our own version of the Beatles rooftop gig here at the store.
Out in the parking lot.
In the parking lot, and those videos are really cool. They actually turned out quite good sound-wise, which has surprised us all. So yeah, so check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and a lot of that stuff's on YouTube as well. So just search Atomic Kings Band.
We won't do a show unless something really unique came up until the record is done. I kind of like to do stuff as you're doing it. If we were doing shows, I wouldn't want to record. We were done doing shows, we recorded. I don't want to really do a show until the product is finished and people can kind of, relate to what it is we're doing.
Yeah, you want to connect the dots. You don't want to send them on a wild goose chase and all that. But we're so excited. Atomic Kings coming your way. Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate. We will stay in touch and follow your progress. Look forward to our next chat. Thank you so much.
All
All
right.
right, thank you, Jay.